Good afternoon. I'm Namrata Patel. We welcome you for today's special session on how to be safe with your money and your digital transactions, which we are conducting year after a long gap. Today's workshop is supported by the Depositor Education and Awareness Fund of the Reserve Bank of India. Let me now introduce Ms. Sucheta Dalal, whose session is on how to be safe with your money. Ms. Dalal is the founder, trustee of Moneylife Foundation and also the managing editor of Moneylife magazine. Ms. Dalal has over 30 years of experience in journalism with some of India's leading newspapers, including the Times of India. She was awarded the Padma Shri in 2006 for her work in investigations which include the Harshad Mehta scam of 1992 and coverage of other issues. The second session will focus on digital transactions and will be conducted by Mr. Yogesh Sapkale, who is the deputy editor of Moneylife. Mr. Sapkale writes a technology column for Moneylife magazine. For over 22 years, he has been working in the print, TV, newswire, and web media. He was the business editor of DD News as well as India correspondent of Thomson Reuters.
Okay, lots of people here who don't probably need financial literacy sessions, and I don't know why they're here. But what we are going to do today is to look at money a little differently. Okay, so we talk about your money life and what happens. So essentially, this is a snapshot of your money life. Okay, you spend the first about 24 years spending money, somebody else's money. You spend the remaining few years earning as well as spending, and most of the time that's the only period in which you need to save. And the last phase of your life, you're living off your savings. With this in mind, you have to understand and take a look at money differently. That's what we believe in Moneylife Foundation, and that's what we hope that you're going to take away from this session. I would urge you to we're going to go a little fast over some of the issues. So don't worry about the fact that you haven't absorbed every single thing I'm saying, because it's not necessary. Every single thing that we say is there on our website. The session itself is recorded and will be available to you. And I think all of you have got envelopes with some of the issues that I've talked about, explained more in detail. We have written detailed articles about them, which can always be accessed. So don't worry about taking down notes or what you haven't got fully. I would urge you to know that you don't know, or know that you need to look in detail about something, and then Google is always there as our big teacher, right? So Google within Moneylife and you're set. Okay, so this is another chart saying more or less the same things that I said. It's only pointing out to you that this is the only phase of your life where all the action happens. You have learned at someone else's expense for the first 24 years. Maybe you've spent 3 or 4 years having fun and spending the money. You've just started earning. But this is the all-important phase of your life where you're earning, you have expenses, you have savings, and you have phenomenal responsibilities. People have children, and this is the phase when it's all the way up to children getting married. And the 60 plus is when, by and large, people are living off their savings. So if you have to manage this, and unless you look at it graphically, you don't realize what a small period of your life you have with humongous responsibilities, and also peak areas in your career when you're also fighting and being part of the rat race. So if there's one thing that you need to keep in mind, it's this: don't lose money. It's hard-earned, it's a small window, and when you lose a large chunk of your savings. Now, why do people lose such a large chunk of their savings time and again? We believe that it is because people don't understand risk. After hundreds of years of evolution, the human mind, and this is not me saying it, this is scientific research. Again, like I said, Google. I'm not going to get into details with references, but scientific research shows that the human mind is still not attuned to understand finance. We understand the hunter-gatherer business. So you see danger, you know you're going to run. You see a king cobra, only few people will go to feed it water, like you saw happening in the last few days, if someone's giving water to a king cobra, our natural instinct is to run. Okay, that we understand very well. We understand simple consumer products well, but we do not understand financial risk. The reason we don't understand risk very well is not because all of us are weak in maths, but because the returns usually come later. So let me tell you how this works. So what we tend to do is we tend to transfer our experiences of using consumer products or durables to the financial markets. You buy a toaster, you plug it in, it works. You buy a washing machine, you put some detergent, it works. You buy a fancy car like that also, if you have the money, you can drive away with it as long as you know driving. Does that happen in the financial world? No. Not a single financial product is going to give you instant returns. It's at least 12 months later that you know whether you've made a smart decision or you've made a completely stupid decision. In fact, some products like insurance, it's only when you actually make a claim that you realize that you probably made a blunder. It's not until then. So that's why you can't test drive a mutual fund. You have to trust the manager, you have to look at past performance, and only when you've actually got your results at the end of the year, maybe it's a bull market, you've done very well, in a bear market, you're losing something. Nothing is known upfront, and that's why you have to be a lot more careful about what you do in the financial world. Then there is another issue, which is how everybody is bombarding you with messages. So everyone in the financial market is a glib salesperson, which means media, because media gets advertisements. So I'm starting with what people like us do first. Banks, they're hard selling every kind of financial product. In fact, today, a lot of mis-selling is happening over there. Every distributor who is incentivized to sell products, not all of them have to be scrupulous, though many of them are, but some are not. And companies themselves, I mean, they're out to hawk something, right? So they have all these fancy stars who are going to tell you what is what, and often what they tell you is completely incorrect. For instance, Sachin Tendulkar, I mean, he's God where cricket is concerned, but not when it comes to child insurance, okay? But there are enough of people, in fact, we are told a whole village about child insurance because Sachin Tendulkar says, ye aapke liye acha hai. So please do not make mistakes like this. Then there is Amitabh. I'm a great fan of his, but if he's at the airport telling the security guys, "Bas 2 minutes, like Maggie noodles, to buy insurance," then, we can tell him people who have lost lakhs and lakhs of rupees after spending hours with their relationship managers, it's wrong. And then, of course, the best actor of them all, my opinion, he says, "Kam insurance lene ki bimari." So he has this lovely umbrella, says, "Jada insurance lo, big umbrella." And we did some number crunching here at Moneylife, and we discovered that the claims refusal was the highest in this insurance company where he's hawking, which means the more insurance you take, the more money the insurance company makes, not you. Right? So you have to begin to think of money differently. So we say usually 5 mantras. One is don't lose money. Second, insured. It's difficult. We have written, our colleague Raj Pradhan, I think, has written about 30 cover stories on insurance. And we urge you, before you buy insurance, please Google and read. But insurance is the way to secure some parts of your future without making mistakes. Avoid credit and investment traps. Focus on a few safe products. Moneylife always says that 90% of the products that are hawked to you are either unnecessary or downright dangerous. You need just about 10%, and they have to be the right ones. And the final one is more important: avoid emotional traps. My relationship manager persuaded me, so I did it. I mean, that's not an answer one should ever hear from anybody. You don't owe anything to a relationship manager, but you would be surprised how many people say, I couldn't say no to him. Why? Is he your relative? Right? So, and if you think you just have to be smart to avoid problems, then again, research shows that smart people are, and actually high achievers are easier to cheat than others because they think they're so damn smart that nobody can take them for a ride. Glib talkers can usually con them far easier. Again, simple rules. If it seems too good to be true, it usually is. Okay? I'm going to start.
कान खींच कर ये समझाए, सुनो बेटा बुद्धू राम, जब घर में पड़ा है सोना तब का है कोरोना, बोले ना पैसा रख के सोना, 2 मिनट में काम होना.
Everyone remember remembers this ad? The Buddhuram ad? Anyone remember seeing it? How many people take gold loans? You know, we keep saying that this is the most classic example of how large number of people are conned with gold loans. 3 or 4 people in our own office, first time they're in financial difficulty, the first thought that comes to them, thanks to this hard selling that you see all the time, let me take away Manappuram because it's not the only one. The first thought that comes to them is, I've got gold, so let me be a Buddhuram and go and deposit it and get money against it. Now, I think you need to understand what really happens with your gold. You are ending up, you own the gold, okay? You have invested or you have inherited or someone has gifted to you. You already have something which is a piece of value. And here's the company saying, you come and pledge it with us and pay interest on what you already have. Do you know that you pay interest at the rate of 15 to 25% depending on which company you go to? So your own gold, you're not even getting full value for it because they usually have what is called a haircut. So you get only 70% or so back. On that, you're going to pay interest. Then you're going to pay processing charges. And you're going to have a short window in which you have to pay it back. So a lot of times people don't even manage it and lose their entire gold. Now let's look at how it looks graphically. Okay, so we say that instead of going and pledging your gold, whether it is 1 minute or 2 minutes, it takes just about the same time to go and sell your gold. So if you're going to do it, you sell the same amount of gold. You don't get, for 1 lakh of gold that you sell, you don't get 70,000. You get the entire 1 lakh. So you have an advantage. And look at what happens. If you start buying back even a gram or 2 of gold every month instead of that 15% to 20% interest that you're paying, in a much shorter time, you're going to have all your gold back. And this is the amount that you're actually paying. Okay? So you sell your gold, it comes back to you. If you take a gold loan, you're paying twice as much. And I mean, if this is not being a Buddhuram, I don't know what is. We've written a detailed article on this, but I'm giving you an example of how much we internalize these messages that are bombarded to us just because you have a celebrity saying, "Bahut acha hai," 2 minutes mein you're, giving away your valuables and coming back with less money and then paying interest on what you already own. And these 2 companies which are giving you these gold loans are doing so wonderfully well. I mean, some of the stock experts are betting on these, making a lot of money. I mean, if that is not an example of how many people are being fooled all the time, I don't know what is, okay? But this is how the financial world works. And it's legal. No one's stopping it. I'm now going to another example. Okay, these are 10,000 people who are sitting outside Crawford Market police station. Why? Because they went and invested in a company called City Limousine, which gave them, hold your breath, 200% return, or 120 to 200%, offered different things at different times. And people said, wonderful, nobody bothered to ask what kind of business earns this kind of money. Okay, they said, ye de raha hai. And he was actually issuing checks. Guy, of course, came through as a great patriot. He used to have Shah Rukh Khan and Dilip Kumar with him all the time. And he also made a movie like Chak De India. So we all trusted him because we all go with visuals, images, and memes. And look at the kind of people who invested. 6,000 policemen, 200 income tax officers, 15 RBI officers, 300 people from Mantralaya. Who are all these guys? These are the guys who should have stopped it in the first place. Okay? But they're the ones who invested. In fact, I keep saying most of the time they would have got their money back, but not those 10,000 who were sitting outside Crawford Market police station. This case is going on for the last 15 years. There are any number of schemes like this which are cheating people all the time. There are a couple of gold schemes which are conning people. I know of people who are selling their houses to go and invest. Well, Hira Gold is something that I've heard of. People are selling their apartments to go and invest in it because they talk about 120% returns. Does not happen. Bound to fail. If it's too good to be true, it usually is. And you look at the numbers. This is where people lose a maximum chunk of their money. Ponzi schemes, promises of incredible returns. So you have pearls where every single day you go to Moneylife and you'll see someone saying, am I going to get my money back? 49,000 crore, and we're not talking about interest. And the money is, half of it is gone to Australia, gone to some Australian cricketer who's making movies, but it's not going to come back to you. This is a tragedy because we work really hard for this money. You have QNet, you have Michael Ferreira, who's probably going to get bail now. You have the PAN card club. You have Speak Asia, an example where the most ridiculous scheme, which says fill a couple of surveys and you get thousands of rupees, and the whole country was going crazy for 1 year. That's a story we broke. And look at how much money they collect so fast. Speak Asia collected 1,200 crores in less than a year. You can't collect that kind of money with a legal IPO if you want to go to SEBI and get some permissions. You want to run a magazine which tells people how to be safe. Nobody wants to shell out the $25 or $45 it costs. But if I put out a board out here saying I'll give you 100% return, there'll be a queue. I can take a bet there'll be a queue to say, here's my check. Because all you have to do is promise a fake return and sound a little credible, and that's enough for people to sort of take their checkbooks and start chasing you. This is how India is losing. Ask RBI, ask SEBI. They're tired of even handling these schemes because they're just coming out of the woodworks. So each of them is looking at hundreds of schemes and then trying to find a way to shove the responsibility on someone else. So they tell the Mumbai Economic Offences Wing, you guys handle it because at least you have the powers to go and arrest people straight away. But I spend a little time on this because the numbers are humongous. And we can discuss endlessly. I'm sure if we finish this session, each of you are going to tell me names of 20 schemes that all of you know about, but there's no point. All you have to know is the principle. Just avoid them. These are pyramid and Ponzi schemes. The ones which ask you to introduce 2 or more people are the worst of the lot because they end up getting you to trap your friends and family into it. The returns can sometimes be as low as 12% and as high as 100%, 200%, 120%. I'll go through a few things. Advance fee scams and confidence tricksters. Today, all of them operate through Facebook, WhatsApp. People are being lured either to invest in schemes, get married to people. It comes in a variety of forms. Come and attend a conference, or somebody's email is hacked and say that someone is stranded abroad, send me money. I think the tricksters and scamsters are always 2 jumps ahead of all of us normal people, and they are innovating every single day. And here's an example. Everyone knows this guy, Karan Singh Grover. 7 lakhs is what he paid. Why? Because somebody told him that, pay me a little bit and I'll give you something more. I think he was expecting some 25, 30 lakhs. And then in the movie industry, all publicity is good publicity. So he's now portraying it as, I'm a trusting guy. So there you are about the kind of people getting. And who are the kind of people looting you? Again, your film star type. So this woman who acted in Madras Cafe is promising 200 to 400%. She and her boyfriend are, of course, sitting in jail just now. But not before she had managed to con a lot of people, was going around in fancy cars. So avoiding these temptations. Anytime you're in a barista or a cafe coffee day, just keep your ears focused on a couple of tables where there's an animated conference with conversation going on. It's usually someone hawking a pyramid scheme or QNet or something like that. Stay away from these, okay? I'm now coming to banking because ultimately all our hard-earned money goes to the bank, right? And we trust the bank to keep it safe. So it's really important that you know how to choose a bank. We are lucky in India that 42% of banking is still government banks. So the one worry that we don't have is the bank going to fail? Unlikely. If it's a government bank, Sarkar takes care of you. If it's a large private bank also, there is nothing to worry about because we've decided more than 17 years ago that we won't allow large private banks to fail. So when Global Trust Bank should have failed, government bailed it out, and that is going to be the standard. Large bank affecting a large number of people, and this has now become a global thing because after the 2008 crisis, I think the world has realized that letting Lehman Brothers fail was a mistake, and everybody else got bailed out. So if you get an SMS saying some bank is going to fail, just pause for a moment to think, Is it a large bank? If it is, don't worry. Don't start rushing to the ATM. There's nothing to panic. But if it is a cooperative bank, Kapul Cooperative Bank was folded up yesterday. Cooperative banks are a different cup of tea altogether. They are under dual regulation of the RBI as well as the Registrar of Cooperatives, which means neither of them pay too much of attention. There is a lot of political influence, and these banks are failing with extraordinary regularity. In fact, we monitor RBI press releases. It's about one a month, sometimes more. Okay, and most ordinary people are not focused on looking at the small little press release, one para that's going to come in the newspapers. Nowadays, people don't even read newspapers, so you will not notice the regularity with which cooperative banks fail. I keep saying only 1 lakh of your deposit is guaranteed. If it were my hard-earned money, I would not keep more than that in a cooperative bank. If it's right next door, and that's why very convenient, okay, about 1 lakh. But if it's my hard-earned money, I would not keep it with a cooperative bank. There are few examples, 3 or 4 really large cooperative banks, which are as good as scheduled banks. But barring those, I would suggest don't put your money in small banks. One of the questions that people keep asking us is about the deposit insurance. So it's 1 lakh. So people say, why does the government increase it and make it 5 lakhs? Why not guarantee the entire deposit? At least we in Moneylife Foundation are dead against it. And the reason is very simple. Every one of the claims made in the last 30 years is on behalf of a cooperative bank, which means, a bank that is looted by politicians is walking away with money which is part of your deposit guarantee. If now instead of 1 lakh you're going to guarantee the whole amount, it means that it's happy days for the politicians, because they'll say, inka to paisa aa jayega, and that insurance premium is ultimately paid by us. So if all of us are smarter and we have put our money in a State Bank of India or a nationalized bank or one of the larger banks, it doesn't matter that you're smart, because the government will keep giving away that money on behalf of cooperative banks. So unless this whole system of dual regulation and politically dominated cooperative banks stops, I think deposit insurance should remain at 1 lakh. I know that this is a question, so I'm preempting it by answering it. We say avoid all these other things, nidhis, bachat gat, pishi. Some of them, neighborhood things for small amounts, sometimes as fun as kitty parties, may be all right, but only invest that much money in it that you're willing to lose. But otherwise, these fail with as much regularity as cooperative banks. And there's no point in saying, will I get my money back? The cases where we know of any action or people getting their money back is next to nothing. I've been in journalism 30 years, and I think I can count on the fingers of one hand how many times people have ever got even the principal back. And the principal comes back 20 years later, which means you have to calculate the erosion of value on it. So the question here was, what about multi-state credit cooperatives? I would say they have multi-state problems. Again, I'm not going to give you the best answer. I'm going to say, if it were my hard-earned money, I would keep it safer. Okay, that's the simple answer that I have. If you know of a particular one, because I can't generalize, is it a problem? Yes. Is there one which is different, extremely well-run, ethical? Maybe. So if you have done your homework and you know about it, by all means go ahead. I would say the same thing about a bachat gat. But don't say, nahi, bachat gat theek hai, so I'm going to put money there. If you have personally done research on it, you're going to keep tabs on it regularly, then by all means go ahead. But otherwise, it's a wrong thing to do. So your question?
I mean, a nationalized bank like SBI and Bank of Baroda, the entire amount is insured?
No. But you don't need to do it, because that bank is not going to fail. There is a sort of implicit sovereign guarantee, because it's a government bank. If it all gets privatized, all
Can I
banking
get it
gets
insured the entire amount?
1 lakh, sir. Only 1 lakh for anybody, whether it's a cooperative bank, nationalized bank, foreign bank, or private bank. Only 1 lakh per entity is insured.
Is it inclusive of all kinds of accounts we have with the banks, like FD, recurring deposit, savings
Absolutely.
bank?
Yeah.
So 1 lakh is the max limit.
Per identity. So the next question then, if first of all, should you trust your bank, and then should you trust your banker? Okay, one more question before we move on.
Ma'am, how about Saraswat Cooperative Bank? Is that safe?
So I said 2 or 3 examples of really large banks.
Is
and
that
different
one of them?
standards. Saraswat Bank is definitely one of them. In fact, Saraswat Bank has a policy of not allowing any political interference.
Excuse me, madam. Madam, I think joint account will get 2 lakhs insurance. Is it true?
No,
Only 1 lakh?
yeah. And don't worry about that. You put your money in the right bank, you don't have to worry about whether it's 1 lakh or more. I think that's a more important thing. So relationship managers is something that all of us are very excited about, because instead of you standing before a teller and waiting for the banker to pay attention to you after his cup of tea, they began to come and approach you. But over a period of time, we've realized that relationship managers have only one relationship with you, which is to extract as much money as they can to get it out of the bank and into other kinds of instruments and saving products. So a relationship manager, you have to understand, is doing a job. Okay, he is not in love with you, he is not your relative, and he has very, very strict targets. He doesn't meet the target at the end of the first month, he gets a warning. He doesn't meet it at the end of the third month, he's lost his job. So you see the manner in which he is forced to operate. So with all my sympathies for them, but they are doing 2 or 3 things. They are selling you a product that gets maximum returns for the bank. They are given a set of products and said, go and hawk this. They're looking at how gullible you are and how much they can persuade you to sell. And we have horror stories about the best banks having completely missold insurance products, especially derivative products, structured derivatives, brazenly telling people that there is no risk attached. So you have to be really careful about what you're taking from your relationship manager. Very often you would find that a relationship manager is changing very fast. I've told you why they change, okay? Sometimes they just move to another bank. Sometimes they'll call you up from another bank and say, sir, why don't you, because you're a nice customer, you know, you're listening to them, you're giving them a cup of tea. They'll say, wo bank acha nahi tha. Now I moved to another bank which is much better. Shift your account, close your transactions and open something new. Please do not fall for these traps. They are not meant for your benefit. They're only meant for the relationship manager. And like I told you earlier, 5 most dangerous words, tell me where to sign. And we all get so carried away by smooth talking, sweet talking people that we are ready to sign. Insurance. I've just helped a colleague who passed away, his family recover 59 lakhs missold by a large bank with a large insurance company, even forging signatures, getting policies bought in the name of a grandchild. And all this, you know, the person was 80. I haven't even been able to recover money from his brother. Both the senior citizens have passed away. The brother has even more money given away to these relationship managers, and I doubt whether the bank is even going to pay. What is the problem everywhere? The guy is so good, he cares for me, he comes and meets me regularly, he knows what's right, he's thinking of my children and my grandchildren, and he's bringing me a form, he's babbling high returns. I believe him, I say, where do I sign? Okay? And this has included people who are, you know, I helped somebody get 1 lakh back. He was a former income tax commissioner, settlement commissioner. It doesn't matter. So the bank doesn't really care whether you're an IAS officer or you're an income tax officer. You are being cheated with the same ruthlessness. And this is all coming from relationship managers. File a complaint with the banking ombudsman. They ask you only this question. Aapne sign kiya? Is the signature yours? You say yes. They just throw it out. And we have come across hundreds and hundreds of cases like this. I'm only going to go through one case, one of the most egregious that we have. And the reason we put it out is that we were a little successful in helping her. So you know this woman, she's an actress. She got a settlement of 3.6. She got a settlement of about 4 crores lying in her savings bank. Bank is the only person who knows, because she didn't put out an advertisement saying I have a lot of money. The bank knows that she has money in a savings account. Immediately 2 people wearing a tie and a suit went to meet her and said, you know, ma'am, you have so much of money lying in your savings account. Can we help you invest it? And then the process of mis-selling started. She says that she was distraught at that time and wasn't thinking clearly. So what did they tell her? She had 4 crores. She could have bought an apartment. They told her, don't buy the apartment, because invest money in ULIPs instead. You'll get a return of 24%. Your interest rate EMI is going to be less than 15%. So in fact, you will have 10% left over. Complete lie. So instead of security by having an apartment, the money goes to ULIPs. Remaining money, big chunk goes to mutual funds, which are churned like there's no tomorrow. And each time they're churned, there is an entry load, there's an exit load, and there's a commission that was being earned by the bank. We did some number crunching here and discovered that it was as high as 20 lakhs that she had lost only because of the churning. And she then was made to sign all kinds of papers. The bank kept arguing, did she sign? And she claims that there were blank papers. But like I said, have you signed? That's all they kept asking. We then managed to find different things that the bank should have done, hadn't done. And believe me, it was enormous pressure. We managed to get her 1.37 crore back. Okay? Her actual direct loss was over 1.8 crore. What does this mean? From Moneylife Foundation's point of view, it's our biggest success, getting this much money back for someone. But from her point of view, it is not even her entire loss. She had a lawyer and fought for 2 years before she discovered us. We fought for another 2 years before we were successful. No interest, no penalty to the bank. In fact, a gag order to her that she won't talk about it. Okay? But we said, sign it. At least you're getting 1.3 crores. It's not money that you sneered at. So rampant mis-selling is being done by banks, and it is a serious issue these days. So selling high premium insurance, I already told you, is one of them. Asking you to buy in the names of children, I've already told you. Structured derivatives. We came across one case where the bank not only sells a structured derivative product saying, don't worry, it's fully hedged, it's never going to go down. It did go, so there's a problem. They also told this person, who was a very high net worth individual, that why just invest in this? You're such a high net worth individual, why don't you leverage it? So you take a loan of 6 crores and put that entire money here. Our interest rate is lower, the return that you're going to get is higher, and you're going to make a spread of about 4%, and it's money for jam on 6 crores, where you would probably have invested 1 crore. The person lost money, and again, they come to us, we start helping them. The bank says, okay, we'll return the money as long as you don't talk any further to Moneylife, sign a gag order. And people are willing to do it. I mean, I'm quite happy for people to do it. It's your money, you should get it back. But I would much rather that you learn from these episodes and don't make the mistake in the first place. Other things that banks keep selling you, art. You know what happened with Ocean. Real estate, again, where they're not responsible. So they, if you're a wealth management customer, they're constantly telling you that you're getting first bash at it. You'll get it at 10% lower or whatever. They have zero accountability for what is sold, or even whether the product is fully legal, whether they have checked the compliances, and whether it ever gets completed, right? So when you are buying something, make your own decision, not because the bank is selling it to you. Because the bank is looking at something that gives the bank commissions, not what is good for you. This is an issue that all of you would have seen as bothering people, has created a lot of anger, which is fleecing home loan borrowers. Now, all of you know anybody who's taken a floating rate loan. You know that interest rates will go up and will go down. And that's what you signed up for, right? So what do the banks do when interest rates go up? They just increase the number of EMIs. They are not even contacting you. It's almost done automatically. When interest rates go down, the Reserve Bank of India watched it for a while. In 2008, they told banks that as of 2010, you will allow it to be reset because banks were not passing on the interest rate to you. So first of all, they do two things. Interest rate goes down. It's offered to new borrowers, not to existing borrowers. Existing borrowers pay about 1.15 to 25 more than the new borrowers. Okay, so straight away it's complete in principle flouting of what is called a floating rate loan. In addition to that, they say, and this has been allowed by the Reserve Bank, they don't need to tell you that interest rates have gone down. So if you're the kind who doesn't read the newspapers, you may wake up a year later. In fact, one of the guys who came to us has woken up 1 year later and discovered that they had just increased his payback by some 12 or 15 EMIs, and it was 6 lakh more because he did not know what happened. Now the RBI has also told them that you can mutually negotiate with people and extract a fee to reset the loan. So we've been saying that if you don't have a fee while increasing it, how can you charge a amount while decreasing it? And this is something on which all of us are fighting. We hope that the RBI is going to listen to us about how unfair it is, and it's going to help borrowers. But if you have a loan, you need to be watchful. You need to watch for interest rates. And if you don't know what to do, please come for our daily guidance clinics. Friday is for finance, and you can ask your questions. One solution to those who are in this trap, if there's anyone in this room, is the threat to change your lender. So if you say, I'm moving away from you to someone else, you can negotiate far better terms with the other person, or the bank gives you better terms to retain your account. Both things work. It's a lot of hard work. Even there, you need counseling. Come and talk to us, because this is not the place to give you details about how it is done. When you deal with banks, another thing that you have to watch out for is a variety of spurious charges. So one large private bank began to levy a 110 rupee charge per quarter for account management charges. Now, they claim that they're giving you a lot of things in managing your account, but most of us are being offered services we do not need. So if you had a bank locker, we would have gone and got one. This is included. They say they won't charge you money for withdrawing more than 5 times. In fact, most people in that category probably don't even withdraw 5 times. What is worse, they did not tell you that they're going to charge it. So they sent you a mail in which it was auto-ticked that I've seen this and I'm going to be charged 110 rupees. Some people have noticed it. They're carrying on some kind of online satyagraha about it. And unless you call the bank and say, I don't want this, stop it, the bank has been levying these charges. Now, all these little charges, now they're going to have this cash handling charge. You withdraw cash, deposit cash more than 3 to 5 times, you're going to be paying a lot of money. If you do not maintain your minimum balance, you're going to be paying a lot of money. The amount differs from one bank to another. If you do not notice these charges and you're just getting your monthly statement and keeping it, the bank benefits in a big way, because look at it from the bank's perspective. All their costs are paid for. This money goes straight to the bottom line. So it is the number of depositors into whatever, 75 rupees, 100 rupees, 50 rupees, 12 rupees, whatever it is they can get from you, which just pads up their net profit. Okay? And if you are concerned, it's a question of usually making one call. Yes, waiting, dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, finally getting someone on the line, putting in your details, but it's worth the effort because you don't want to fatten people for no rhyme or reason. The third thing we do is put our money in bank FDs, right? So we all know that bank FDs are taxable, they do not beat inflation and whatever, but at least bank FDs in a nationalized bank, large private bank are safe. A lot of people make the mistake of assuming that a bank FD is equal to a corporate FD, and so they become easily conned by someone who says some large company is going to, so the Unitech chairman has got arrested all over again today, okay? And Unitech figured in our list of companies which has the largest number of complaints for not paying back fixed deposit holders. So please remember that a corporate FD is unsecured, which means that you are the last person in the queue when it comes to handing out the money, because secured creditors get it first, that too after the company goes into liquidation. By and large, even large companies like Jayaprakash Associates, Helios and Matheson, in fact, some of the ones which we have listed over here, have not been paying back money, and most people trapped are senior citizens. Now, there is a good reason why senior citizens have got trapped here. Once upon a time, FDs, all companies used to raise money through FDs because it was not so easy to get money from the formal banking system or through a variety of instruments, including the stock market. So there used to be good FDs, and people of a certain vintage are used to investing in FDs, and they can't believe that big names that they're hearing about all the time are taking them for a ride so easily. But you just have to remember that a bank FD and a corporate FD, world of difference. You have to look at credit ratings. You have to follow their annual results. The first sign of trouble that you begin, actually by the time you see trouble in terms of lower profits, it's already too late. The Companies Act 2013 has tightened rules for corporate FDs considerably. So you have some good companies out there. For instance, the Housing Development Finance Corporation, the original realty company, is always in the market with FDs, fairly safe. So I'm not saying all of them are bad, but you have to be really careful about corporate FDs and look at what kind of institution you're investing in. The responsibility is yours. No point in crying afterwards.
What about NC by companies?
Non-convertible debentures. Again, non-convertible debentures are technically a safe instrument. We've gone through phases even in the 90s when every company issued non-convertible debentures, did not pay them back in 7 years, rolled them over. So unless there is, and unfortunately none of these have liquidity in the market. So a lot of them get listed, but when you actually want to try and sell them, you don't have a marketplace, or you'll have to sell them at a lower price. So we are a little careful about it. In fact, we say you can invest in a bond if you're going to hold it to maturity, and if it's listed, it's an additional safety, but it's not something that I would bank on. Liquidity is an issue that's the biggest worry there. So I'm now coming to something else, credit cards. Okay, the State Bank of India chairman says anyone who has 20,000 in their accounts are going to get credit cards. So you have to know a little bit about how this instrument works. Do you need a credit card? I mean, you have to remember that a Dilbert comic called it the crack cocaine of the financial world. Okay, so logically you would say don't buy a credit card, but I think you need a credit card for several reasons. If you're an Apple customer, by and large, you don't get into iTunes without a credit card. That's why I had to get one. But suppose you're stranded somewhere, you booked a Kingfisher flight and the guy's gone and cancelled it. I mean, you can't in another city go and look around at the airport and say, who's going to buy me a ticket to Bombay, right? So if you have a credit card, that is, you probably don't have that much of money in your bank account. So no point in having a debit card, nor is Paytm going to allow you to buy the ticket. The only thing that you can do at that time is you need credit, you need instant credit, and a credit card will allow you to book another ticket. So are they useful? Yes, they are very useful, and they're useful for emergencies. So I would advise you to have one if you need it.
Business class tickets for your parents' first international vacation? 110,000 rupees on your MasterCard. Renting a luxury car? 8,000 rupees. Tickets to the amusement park? 5,600 rupees. Watching your parents become children again? Priceless. There are some things money can't buy.
Isn't this a lovely ad? I just love the ad until you start looking at what it says. And I keep saying, if the parents knew that this Buddhu Ram had no money and he was showing off with a credit card and spending that humongous amounts of money, which he did not have, just to impress his parents, then the shock would be, the expression on their faces would be priceless when he gets his first credit card bill, and especially when he's rolling it over, because this is what is going to happen to him, okay? If he's not able to pay back that entire amount that he spent, and the kind of money he's spending, it's not going to come out of his first salary, so he's going to roll it over. So the interest rate is not going to be 15, 18%, it's going to be anywhere between 40 to 65%, sometimes 72%, depending on which bank's credit card you have. So some nationalized banks are on the lower side, foreign banks are at the high end, okay? So that is the kind of interest, and it's never directly told. No credit card company admits to charging more than 18%. And you would wonder how it is so high. So I'm not saying this. This is a case that went to the National Consumer Redressal Commission. The banks challenged it. The NGO who filed the case won it. Then it went into the Supreme Court, and the NGO did not turn up. So nothing happened. The interest rates remain as high as ever because nobody fights your battles for you. And I don't know how this got taken to that level, but it is at that case where they admitted this kind of interest rates. Now, what happens if you have rolled over a part of it? If you notice, every credit card statement says you need to pay only 15%. So they're actually encouraging you to roll over the rest. Only if you roll over, they are able to charge you the money. Otherwise, they get zero. In fact, they are spending out of their pocket even to give you that card and to send you a statement, unless there's some small annual fee. If you have an amount rolled over and you spend again on that credit card, then you do not have any 40-day, 60-day period to repay the money. That gets added on to your total immediately, and the high interest rate gets applicable on the day you spend that next lot of money. So we keep saying, if there's any unpaid balance in your credit card, don't, the whole amount. So you're already paying for what is rolled over, and whatever you spend after that on the card when there is an outstanding gets added to it. So there is no free period. From day one, no free period. Okay? If you withdraw cash, and I notice that all new credit card statements are telling you want to go on a holiday, it's the right time, borrow money, they're virtually giving it to you like a loan. They say something like 1.7% plus, you know what the plus will be. And any cash withdrawal is treated like an instant loan. So again, no free period. What is worse is cash withdrawals are adjusted last. So they have a hierarchy in which they make sure that your payments are settled. So other payments on the cards are settled first, cash is last. Why is cash last? Quite simple, because they want to extend the period in which they earn high interest from you. So it's always from their perspective. Now they're taking a risk and giving all of us who are paying back diligently, virtually money for free. So they have to take it out. So I keep saying the favorite customers of a credit card company are the ones who do not pay their entire credit card bill. Okay? So they just love those customers, and their whole marketing is geared to lure them into spending more and more. That's why it becomes a crack cocaine. We've heard people coming to us and saying, but I spent only 5,000 rupees, and then, another 2,000, and then only another 3,000. Over a period of time, it's compounding at this rapid rate, and before they know it, it's $1.5 lakh, which is a person's annual salary, and they say, I don't know how it happened. This is how it happens. Next, I'm not going to spend time on this. Like I said, we have 30 cover stories. It can't be covered here. But I just want to tell you a broad principle about insurance. Everywhere else you say buyer beware, right? You have to be careful. When it comes to insurance, it is actually the insurance company that's taking you on good faith. So they say this is a nice, honest person who's going to fill the form correctly, write his age correctly, his blood group if they need it, address, any heart disease, diabetes. Your agent is telling you, kuch zarurat nahi hai, main hu na. So you sign here and I'll take care of problems. So you sign, right? So he tells you, hush up everything. The insurance company waits for you to actually make a claim. The day you make a claim, they take out this fat magnifying glass and take out your form first to see whether you filled everything correctly, what have you hidden, what have you not mentioned, and that's when your battle starts. And a lot of times people have ended up paying insurance for a number of years and then go through a nightmare of not getting their claims. So insurance is something that we say, again, like crack cocaine, handle with utmost care. Please do not buy insurance because somebody is telling you to. It's never as simple as compare karo or le lo. So, even if you go to a comparison site, unless you know some basics, you're not going to be able to decide. You decide a product, then go to compare. If there is a lower amount somewhere, it may work, but not without it. So there's some kinds of insurance that you absolutely need. They're essential for you. You need a health insurance. If you have dependents, you need life insurance. You have to get auto insurance. It's not your choice. And accident insurance is something we highly recommend, because even if people have health issues, accident is a straightforward thing where you get your money if there is a problem. The insurance premiums are also pretty low, and we strongly advise don't travel without insurance. And basic property, you need to understand the concept. Property insurance is a little tough because it only covers a part of what you have, but it makes sense for you to be safe with having a property insurance. I'll just run through some tips. When you heard all that I have to say about banks, question that people keep asking me is, I may ask questions, the bank won't put anything in writing, or they make oral assurances. One of the things that we have found is you put it in writing. So when you have a relationship manager, one of the first things you should do is ask him for his mobile and his email ID, ask him who his boss is, get his mobile and his email ID, and his boss's boss. Okay? These are not things you're going to get afterwards. When you have a problem, it's only the call center, because the relationship manager also would have run away. But until you have signed something, they will probably even give you the CEO's mobile number. So get all that before you sign any product. Now, if he's made you a promise, suppose he sold you an insurance and said you'll get a 36% return, or he's told you it's a single premium insurance. This is a very common way people get cheated. They take up insurance where the premium looks very high, 70,000 rupees per year, 1 lakh plus, and they discover to their horror that they're getting a demand again the next year. And they realize they've signed up for paying that kind of premium every year for the next 5-7 years or whatever. And people have got really looted. 30-40 lakhs goes away because of this mistake. So you send him an email saying that this is what you have promised me. Please confirm that it's true. Again, I know that you will say, what if he doesn't reply? In all probability, he will not reply. But at least if you are in the middle of a fight, the fact that you have sent that email and you've not got a reply works in your favor. So when you go to a banking ombudsman, he's not going to ask you, is this your signature alone? Because you're going to show him an email and say, I've asked these questions. He's not given them to me. Instead, he called me up and said verbally that, yes, all that you've said in the email is correct. It stands in your favor. A lot of people have won their cases just because they have records. This is what you want in your financial life. In reality, this is how it works. Sometimes you're spending more money. Things are going up and down. There are contingencies. Other thing that people don't understand is inflation. People think I'm saving and saving. They don't realize how their money is being eaten away by something, the monster called inflation. And this is a simple chart to show 2.4 lakhs if that's the kind of money you have this year. At the end of about 30 years, what you need, if that's your expense, you will need 38 lakhs. I'm not going to get into the numbers because the idea is just to show you a graphic representation of how fast inflation sort of reduces the value of your money.
But what is the approximate rate of annual inflation that you think?
Okay, very interesting. You have a rate that is put out by the government every month, right? And now it is based on consumer price index. But one of the things that we point out here is that in India, inflation is never less than 10%. Why? Because the things that you and I consume, which is whether it's cost of movies, your healthcare, your education, all that is galloping so fast and it's not part of the consumer price index. So the inflation that the government talks about and the real inflation that you face is dramatically different and changes from time to time. But in India, by and large, inflation is always over 10%. Yes, sir.
Thanks. So what is the solution to beat this inflation index?
Okay, two things. One, this seminar is not for this, okay? So how to beat inflation.
No, I just want your opinion on
No, I know. So I'm just clarifying that we have a full special session which Devashish conducts on where to invest and how to invest. So this one is about safe money. I'm just going to talk about one small thing, which is, what Warren Buffett says, and, we couldn't do better than listening to him because he's the world's second richest man, which is compounding. You have to understand the power of compounding. We keep saying you have to save as much as you can, as early as you can, and make sure that whatever you have is compounded so that the returns are higher. Now, I'm just going to run through this simple chart about compounding by way of an example. So if you are earning 10,000 rupees and we're taking 10%, I know that it's difficult to get 10% interest. So again, that's the next session, how you combine things so that your total return is 10%. So you have partly in bank FDs and partly in other investments, including the market or mutual fund, so that 10% is safe, basic. It's not 12, it's not 30, it's not what the Ponzi schemes gives you, but it can still grow your wealth like this, okay? So this is a simple chart of you're keeping the 10,000 intact and you're only adding the interest and you're compounding it. Over a period of time, you can see that this side is growing faster and faster. Now, if you add another 10,000 to this every time instead of keeping the principal fixed, so you have 10,000, you add another 10,000 the next year, and plus the interest that you've earned on it, then it compounds even faster. And this is a graphic representation. So in the early days, the interest is small. As you go towards 20 years, you can see the returns are so much higher than what you invest. And unless you see it visually, most people don't realize how significant is the power of compounding. I mean, we cannot stop telling people enough that you have to save, you have to compound, don't keep it lying in a savings account, because this is one safe way to grow your money. So to sum up, start investing as early as possible, save as much as possible, don't lose money, and invest carefully. Like I said, you need to have only a few savings products. Even if you aim at 10%, because that's about the inflation rate, you are fairly safe. You need to understand one more concept when it comes to your money, which is credit history. These days it's become all important. Now in India, having a good credit has not yet started getting you any significant benefits. But if you are a defaulter, and many people become innocent defaulters for several reasons. One, there's a mismatch in the algorithm. Somebody else's money is attached to theirs, they haven't checked. Somebody has taken a loan in their name, they haven't checked. Or they got into a little fight over some 200 rupees extra which the credit card company charged, and they said, "Main aapko sabak sikaunga. I haven't paid your bill." So your bill is $5,000, you're disputing $500, but it becomes an ego war in no time. So you think you're going to teach a giant bank a lesson. The bank keeps quiet. All it does is marks you a defaulter, and then you start, that money is then compounding because your interest is compounding over there. And before you know it, a year down the line, you've got people making calls, recovery agents chasing you. And it's a really dangerous situation to be in. We have a credit helpline, okay? So anyone has a problem, please meet us on Friday. We have a free online credit helpline. You can write to us also. But I can tell you it is extremely difficult to extricate yourself from it because the numbers become large pretty fast. And the cost of being a defaulter is huge because then you are not even entitled to an education loan or a motorcycle loan. Forget about, your home loan. And a lot of times youngsters fall into this trap because they're being a little hot-headed, and the price they pay. We have people coming and sitting and telling us in the counseling, "I don't intend to pay." And we tell them, you better rethink that because you must keep making your payments while you fight, okay? Because the minute you default, then you have created a double whammy for yourself. You've created two problems. You're fighting on something which may be a matter of principle, but by you not paying in protest, you're creating a whole new problem for yourself. So please do not do that. If you want to have a fight, come, get the right advice, approach a consumer court, approach a banking ombudsman, do it systematically. Don't do it on a one-to-one basis without enough of knowledge. Okay? After following everything, things can still go wrong. I mean, it may not be a fault of yours. So one of the things that you need to know is where to complain. Okay? So before I come to Suchet, let me tell you, every bank mandatory has to have a services committee, which is taken fairly seriously. So you complain to your branch manager. That doesn't resolve it, escalate it. The chairman's office has to have a services committee attached to it. I know that they look at these complaints fairly seriously, especially if it goes to the chairman's level. If it does not get resolved over there, you can approach the banking ombudsman. Now, a few months ago, the RBI came up with this. It's yet untested. In fact, some of you who have used it should give us your feedback. But what they have done is, they know that there are 5 insurance regulators. It's a good thing that the RBI has set it up because, after all, banks are selling you all these products, right? So the bank relationship manager is selling you insurance, he's selling you mutual funds. So they've got these little buttons right here where you can click and go to the direct website where you have a problem. So you bought a mutual fund and you have a problem, you can come to Suchet and click and it'll go straight to SEBI. Okay? The advantage here is that you can file the complaint online and it's giving you a tracking device. Now, SEBI has tracking, but you can track it through Suchet as well, and you can search your complaints quite easily. On the face of it, it looks good, but like I said, there is nothing in this website to tell us how many people have complained, how many have used it, and how successfully. So we would like feedback from you. It's relatively new. Most people do not even know of the existence of suchet.rbi.org. I've told you about the banking ombudsman. There are offices all over the country. Again, all the details are given in a very easy to read manner. So if you want to file a complaint, just go online and take a look at it. I've told you the process that you can't go to the banking ombudsman unless you've exhausted your first remedies of going to the branch manager and escalating it to the chairman. If all of that doesn't work, I've noticed that you file a complaint with any of these guys who are running Jago Grahak Jago, the Consumer Council and the helplines that they have. That works because I know that it goes to the bank. The complaint does go to the bank. And finally, the Prime Minister has created another weapon, which is pgportal.gov.in. I can assure you that every complaint gets looked at over here. Resolved, I will not guarantee. A lot of times, it comes back saying we have closed for whatever reason, but it gets looked at. And because it gets passed on by the PMO, it gets taken a lot more seriously, and we have extremely good feedback of how well PG Portal has worked. So you may want to look at using this for your grievances. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. And Yogesh is now going to talk about digital. Yes, I am going to answer questions.
Okay, ma'am, I have one question on this relationship manager. You had said get his details, get his bosses and bosses' details. Now, when there's a problem, many a times, all three levels have already left the bank. So he's gone to this bank, they have gone to that bank because, 2 years, 3 years, they change the change the company. This is number one.
Fairly high. I mean, I'm sure there could be a rare case of your bad luck, but 3 levels vanishing very fast.
It happens, like in IndusInd Bank, I've seen the relationship manager, his boss, branch manager, the general manager, they have all left. This is one thing.
Then PG Portal for you.
The next thing is, even if he gives you an answer, many a times in that email, under disclaimer, it's mentioned over there, this is just the personal view and the bank will not be responsible and things like that. That's mentioned over there at the base of his email.
No, that doesn't carry any value because, the law is very clear about these one-sided things. And if he's replied saying that he agrees with what he has said and he's committing to then whatever that standard disclaimer has no meaning.
This PG portal, I have other grievances like society matters or others.
All kinds. Yeah.
Okay.
Even railway accidents you can send here. It does get responded to.
In health insurance, you go on paying premium every year. Now, I am paying from last 15-20 years. So it has increased from 6,000 to 18,000 now. But the insurance value has remained same, health benefit, 1 lakh per person like
That's
that.
because of your age.
But it cannot be increased due to inflation. Government cannot look, IDA cannot look into it. Because when they charge insurance at inflation rate,
it's a good question, but it's a very vast subject. And what is happening with medical charges, costs, and, there's also a racket between people who take insurance, what hospitals do. So there are issues on both sides. One can make a lot of demands, but, it is not available at the moment. So I don't know who's going to fight that battle. We need to fight for a lot more cleanup in the insurance industry before you go to the next stage of fighting for things like this.
The insurance of late they have started revising the product instead of the older lot like him. He has no claim record for 7-8 years. Suddenly one day they will change the product and ask him to revise or renew to the new product. So the new product comes with the sublimit, and therefore, as he says, sum assured is not increased. In fact, for cataract-like operation, 12,000 or something maximum he'll get for one eye.
Correct.
But the older version, there he would get an entire amount.
True. I think we have written about this.
This you have to write to IRDA that when they call it renewal means the old policy with all the benefit must be renewed as it is.
Like I said, there is only so much we can do on insurance. What we do in insurance is to be able to tell you what is going on. So like I said, Raj's father is here, we are the strongest on insurance. I think Moneylife takes great pride in the extensive coverage we have done. But fighting for people is a different cup of tea altogether. It is expensive, it is sitting in Hyderabad, it doesn't care. And frankly, we find that most people only want problem solved rather than getting together. They don't have much interest. So we had an insurance helpline also, which we finally stopped because we couldn't afford to run it anymore. And we don't get anyone willing to sponsor it because nobody wants to sponsor something that fights against them. So I would say read, watch, be careful. That's all we can help you with. Yes, sir.
About these credit cards, you see the youngster generations, how they get the limit too much and they are spending it, and when they fall into the trap into this credit card, all this. It is amazing how these companies can give a credit card who has a package of say 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 4
No,
lakhs.
okay, it's a very interesting question. In fact, your question.
I see many youngsters getting into it's like a debt trap for them when they see that now from 2 lakhs it has gone to 7 lakhs for payment, and their parents are just annoyed with all these payments to be made.
There is another side to it also, that if there is a problem, you can lose more money. So one of the things that we say is you need a credit card, but it might be worth your while. Every time the bank transfers you from a lower level like a classic card to a silver or a gold or a platinum, it usually is because the bank gets a higher commission from a MasterCard or a Visa, not because you're a great guy who's paying them a lot of money. So you must remember that everything is to do with them and their profits, and it's not about you. That is one. Second, the higher the limit, the more is your risk. Okay? So I, for instance, have told my bank very clearly that I want a cap. Okay? So even on my debit card, I've got a cap so that I don't want to hear that huge amounts have got, as someone found that in the night, he said his wife's phone kept getting these SMS bings, and woke up in the morning and saw 12 transactions happening in Spain when she's sitting with a credit card in Bombay and fast asleep. Okay? So in order to avoid that risk being a certain amount, so I argued with my bank and I said, I do not want a limit of 1 lakh or 2 lakhs. I want it at 40,000. And they have to put that cap. So it may be a good idea. And I mean, about youngsters wanting to spend money, it's a whole different social issue. We are not going to get into that. I'm into the safety issue, and I'm saying that if the bank forces a credit card down your throat saying you have a limit of 1.5 lakhs and you don't want it, you want to be safe, and you want to ensure that your credit card spending is just up to 50,000, please write to them and get that cap. You can do it, and they are supposed to do it.
The debit cards,
You can even not more than so and so at a particular time. Yeah.
Madam, for debit card also we can do same thing?
Yeah, you can. And as the young lady is saying that you can even do a per day cap. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I hope this lets you be a little more safe with your money, and I hand over to Yogesh.
Good evening. Anybody here who doesn't use technology? Everybody has mobile phones. I think technology is a great leveler. In the terms of, technology doesn't differentiate between two people. Let's say technology for Mukesh Ambani will not be different from the technology that a Kalavati from a normal village will use. So technology is a great leveler, and it treats everybody at the same level. Online transactions and use of mobile, it's now becoming a part of our life, regular life. Okay, so it all makes life easier, but it is a game. It is a game of technology. So if you want to play the game, you need to know the rules of the game. And that is how we'll learn about digital transactions. So today we'll focus on 4 basic things that are involved in the digital economy: mobile banking, net banking, cards or e-wallets, and online shopping. Let's go to mobile banking. So what are the advantages of mobile banking? You can transfer funds. You have the 24/7 access. You don't need to go to the bank branch and then do the transactions. You can check your balances, schedule payments, pay bills online, and schedule transfers, or receive alerts of any money credit in your account or debited from your account. what precautions you need to take? First precaution is use only the authentic app of the bank and no other app available on the Play Store. That is the first important thing. And update that app regularly. Keep it on an auto update. Then use secure connections. Avoid public Wi-Fi and net cafes. Like we have the free Wi-Fi at the railway stations, and I see a lot of youngsters standing there to watch videos. But don't do financial transaction using that free Wi-Fi network. Then don't store for the mobile banking, you get a mobile PIN number from the bank or the login ID. So never share this with anybody else, and don't store that MPIN on your mobile phone. Like we have habit, let's say we have a number of, I have SBI customer. So I'll have my SBI branch number recorded on my mobile, stored as a contact number. So some people has a habit of putting that MPIN and the credit card or the debit card number under the same name. Don't do that. Don't ever store these details in your mobile phone. Then if you are using your mobile for a banking transactions or financial transactions, then keep the mobile locked. You can use fingerprint scanner, or you get the dots connecting to each other in a pattern. So keep it locked so that nobody can be accessing it and using it. For the mobile, use a good antivirus and anti-malware app. So that will protect you from unauthorized access or attacks. Now we'll go to internet banking. Anybody here who has still not used internet banking or net banking? If you are provided with a good quality of, so you'll use it. Fine, good. So I'll just describe you the process to access online banking. For online banking, you don't get online banking access easily. So you have to apply for that with your bank and fill up the application form. In the form, there is an option to opt for the SMS alert. So don't forget to tick that option. This registration process takes normally 7 to 8 working days, after which you will be issued a user ID, login password, and transaction password that are dispatched by the bank separately. And bank also gives you the website name for accessing the net banking. For example, if you are a SBI customer, so sbi.com is not the URL or domain name of this bank. So its online banking name is onlinesbi.com, and now they had procured the .sbi domain name as well. So it will be bank.sbi. Now, when you are doing the financial transaction, one of the important things that you need to look after is the HTTPS. That should be there in the URL, before the URL name, like this. But here, you need to check the encryption level as well. If it is not, it's not just the S, you need to check the lock sign also. What is that lock sign? The lock sign tells you about the security certificate of the particular website, and it keeps updating. If there is some issue, there is some issue with the lock sign, then you should not access this website because the security certificate has expired. Another part is never reveal your PIN or password to anybody. If you are accessing online banking, so normally you will get, this is the screen that you get. Here, you can use this virtual keyboard and fill up all the details. Now, why I am saying that you should use virtual keyboard, because normally what happens on some PCs, let's say, for example, you are accessing bank's website from a cyber cafe. So maybe the cyber cafe owner or maybe some other user had put a software there that's called as keylogger. So it will record every key that you had entered, and automatically he will get all your login details and password, everything will be revealed to him. So to avoid these kind of things, use virtual keyboard and fill up all the details. Now, often we get this kind of signs, click here, click there, and you are given a URL. So don't do that, especially for financial transactions. Don't avoid on ready-made links unless and until you had initiated the session. Let's say, for example, you are transferring some money, and then there is a link to verify the transaction so that you can get an OTP. So you had initiated the session, so you can click on that link. But if there is some pop-up coming there, and it says click here, so don't do that. So in summary about this do's and don'ts of net banking, do not use login info from a tampered envelope. As I told you that banks send you the user ID, password, and the transaction ID in separate envelopes. So if the envelope is tampered, so don't use that. And inform your bank that this envelope is tampered, please issue me another one. Do not share your user ID or password with anybody. Do not fall for tempting emails or SMS or spurious phone calls. Don't share your details over phone calls. Use virtual keyboard as I told you, and read the instructions given by the bank. When you are accessing the online banking, the bank gives you a letter. So on that letter there are clear-cut instructions how to access the net banking. So you have to read that all the instructions carefully. Now we'll move to another area that I had just mentioned while passing by about free Wi-Fi. This concept is now gaining momentum. Now we have free Wi-Fi at almost every railway stations, and the municipal corporation is thinking about setting it free Wi-Fi parks everywhere. I remember some 2-3 years back, they were setting up at the Shivaji Park also, and there were two parties fighting that who will set it up. So it's good. I mean, the free Wi-Fi thing is good. You can browse the net and use internet, but not for financial transactions. It's a strict no. Be careful about public Wi-Fi connections, as what happens on public network is your data that is confidential to you, it can be get hacked by anybody. It can be seen by anybody else who is using the same network. So make sure, another point is that make sure the connection that you have, the Wi-Fi connection at your home, is also protected by a strong password. Especially use that WPA or WPA2 kind of strong passwords, so nobody can use it unauthorizedly. This is the kind of caricature that used to come earlier. Stupid computer keeps saying you got mail, and this lady used to go and see her mailbox. So in email also, I mean, as you may be aware that I look after the helplines. So in helplines, every time I have to delete the email ID and name or the mobile number or PAN number of people who are posting queries, because it is not safe. Although we are replying on a platform, we have our own website, but it is a public platform. Anybody can access it. So don't share your email ID, PAN number, mobile number on a public platform. And in the emails, when you are opening an email, be extra careful. Unless and until the email is sent by the person you know or your bank or authorized bank that you know, don't open it. Especially if there is any attachment, never open it. Unless and until you are 100% sure that the attachment is sent by the sender who is authorized. The attachments may contain viruses or some malwares that will infect your PC or your mobile as well. In the email, we get these links. I mean, this income tax email we used to get, but now they had improved. So they are sending different kind of mails. But it's easy to identify this kind of mails. Just read the language of these mails and you'll identify that. But don't click on any link on these mails. This is unfamiliar mail. So even if you get, I mean, sometimes we get messages on WhatsApp and our instant reaction is just to click on the link. As somebody has sent a link, we'll just click it. I mean, the Reliance Jio offer was supposed to end yesterday, but is now extended for 3 more months. But many people are sending links, that free Jio offer.in, something like that kind of link they are sending, and they are saying that you'll get Reliance Jio card free for 1 more year. It is not possible. When the company itself can't give it, how the link creator can give it to you? But be aware, don't click on this link. What happens basically in these links is you click on the link, it will open on a page. They will ask all your details, your name, email ID, mobile number. They will just collect data and they will say, okay, we'll inform you. If you are a lucky winner, we'll inform you. Nothing happens. So don't do that. Same with the emails. Don't click on any link unless and until you are 100% sure. This is an interesting part, password security. When it comes to password, I mean, is there anybody who write down the password? Where you keep? Diary mein. Or diary kisi ne le liya to? But I will tell you, it's a very bad habit. And it will create more dangers to you. So don't ever write your password anywhere. All your passwords should be here only. And only known to you. I will tell you, I'll explain you. You can create, you can remember, everything is possible. But don't just write down.
There are so many other things which require the passwords. So I have about say 20-30 passwords. Now I cannot remember in just by, I have to write somewhere.
I will explain it to you. We'll just come to that part. How to create password and how to create more password and how to remember all these passwords. It's very easy. It's not a very rocket science. It's easy.
KYC is mandatory every time.
KYC is not mandatory every time.
Yeah.
If you are talking about bank KYC or the mutual fund KYC, RBI and SEBI has asked them to do the KYC every 2 years.
Because say, let's say if we forget some password or something, like, if we go to bank, then they again ask to submit the documents, all the documents. So
that happens with even your mobile operator. If you want to change your plan, they will ask you all the documents again.
So we need to give again the document, because early at the time of our opening account we give all the documents, right? So why need to?
No, they keep updating the KYC. That is
But
as
that
per
is
the,
for
that is
2
as per
years.
the RBI directive.
But that is also 2 years, like once in a 2 years.
Once in a 2 years. That is what RBI has said. Okay, coming back to this passwords and pins. I would advise you to create very strong and a long password for your financial transactions. The reason for this is, let's say if you have created a password which has got only 8 letters. So how much time it will take for an hacker to crack that password? Can anybody guess? You have just 8 characters in your password, and how much time a hacker would take to crack it? 1. How much time it will take to crack that password? Within 24 hours it will get cracked. And if you add one more digit to that, so number of days will increase. If you add some special characters, it will increase the days more. So we'll now move on to how to create crack-proof password. But let me clear it that the concept of crack-proof password is wrong. You can create a robust password, but each and every password is likely to get cracked one time or the other time. It will take some more time, only thing is that. So how to create password? So choose a word that doesn't contain a readable word, or it is not found in a dictionary, especially English dictionary. Like Ghatotkach, you will not find Ghatotkach word in English dictionary. It's not possible, okay? So then the next step is you have to mix upper and lower case letters, like I had given you the example. Next part is use a number or symbol in the middle of the word, not at the end of the word. That, I mean, your password. Why this is? Because if you are using a number or symbol at the beginning of your password, at the end of the password, it makes the job of the hacker very easy, because that will just skip out that part and it will concentrate on the other characters. Then again, do not use this number 1 or apostrophe sign or symbols just to replace the letters. Like some people has a habit. Let's say I want to replace Moneylife. So what I will do is I will put M, then instead of O, I'll just put 0. And I'll think I had created a great password, M0, then N. Instead of E, I will put 3. Then for Y, I will use H. So that kind of thing, it's a passe. I mean, nobody uses that kind of replacement characters nowadays. So don't use it. And of course, create unique password for different sites. This is another important part. Never ever use your own name, date of birth, mobile number. This also applies to your spouse, your children. Don't use their date of birth or their names in the password. Now, how to create password for each site, like you had said. Let's say I'm using this password for Gmail. I had created Ghatotkach Gmail. Now I want to change it for my mutual fund. So you tell me which mutual fund you are using. Okay. So how to create this password is a trick, simple trick. You need to remember a phrase that what we call in our Hindi language is takiya kalam. So you have to find out your own takiya kalam. My takiya kalam is Moneylife say know what's coming. Okay, so let's say Moneylife says know what's coming. You are using for HDFC Bank. So Moneylife says know what's coming in your HDFC account. That is my phrase. So using that phrase, first letters of the words or the end letters of the word, using these and combining it with the symbols and special characters, you can create a typical password for this website. If it is your Birla Mutual Fund, replace that HDFC with Birla Mutual Fund. Your phrase remains same, but it changes along with where you are using it. If you are using it for Gmail, so you can use Gmail there, replace that word with Gmail. You can even create for the month. Yes, Gmail in April 2017. So create one more password. You got one more letter, two more letters. You can play with it. You can play with it, anything, but only remember that phrase. You have to remember only the phrase, and you can create passwords. Now ATMs. ATMs are supposed to be automated teller machines, and it allows you to do all kind of transactions. But normally, I mean, it's not just India, world over, ATMs are used only to withdraw cash. So how ATMs actually work? I'll just go through it very fast, because when you swipe your card, all ATMs has got a screen, and there is a operating system and a computer there. So when you swipe your card, it collects the data from the magnetic stripe and sends it to the processor. That processor sends it to the network. What is network? Network is the card issuer. You get the Visa, MasterCard or RuPay name there. So it goes to the network. So network then identifies the card, the user, and it sends to the bank, concerned bank, and the bank then checks the credit, debit, whatever you have, whatever balance you have in your account, and the banks use a green signal. Okay, now pass this transaction. Then it comes back to the network. Network again sends it back to the processor or the operating system, and then the signal goes to the cash dispensing part. So you get the cash. That is how it works. But when it comes to ATM, I mean, there are many frauds happening at the ATMs also. This is one of the examples how the fraud can happen. So this part here is a skimmer. And here there will be a small camera, miniature camera, that you won't be able to see with your naked eyes. And what this skimmer is, it takes down your magnetic stripe code, or the whatever code is there. When you swipe through the skimmer, it collects all the data. So when you are inserting or when you are using your ATM, so just take a look at the ATM slot. It should not come out from the main machine. It should be part of the same front. But again, I mean, I came across one ATM from Brazil, and you'll be surprised. I mean, how people can get innovative. They had completely replaced the frontage of the ATM with a duplicate one. Entire frontage, entire. So these are the things possible. So when you are punching your PIN number in the ATM, use your hand like this, cover it with this, and then punch the PIN. This protects you from the unnecessary camera tapping your PIN number. Again, I mean, there used to be some ATMs that used to swallow the entire card, do the deal, and then send it out. But now they are replacing it with this swiping machines, so you'll not find that. But if you find that kind of ATMs, it's more safe. How to use ATM? Look for suspicious attachment, as I told you. Then spend minimum time at the ATM. If you want to withdraw some machine, I mean, if your intention is to go and withdraw some 10,000 rupees, so keep your card ready in your hand, enter into the ATM, swipe it, complete your transaction, come out very fast. Don't just stay there. Then if you have any problem, if your card gets stuck or there is some issue, the machine is not punching the keyword or your PIN is not getting entered, take out your card, cancel the transaction, and come out of the machine and inform the branch manager or the security guard if it is there. But don't take help from any bystander, because it may be his own plan. He might have inserted something there and he will just dupe you. Again, avoid using ATMs at night because it is risky. Again, don't use ATMs that are at isolated places. Again, the same part as risk. Check the surroundings of the ATM. This is important part because some ATMs may be placed at places where you will not go normally. So avoid that ATM. Go into area that you are comfortable with and use that ATM. So this is the typical PIN card on an ATM machine. So you have to change the PIN. I mean, how many people are still using the same PIN that was given with the credit card or debit card? How many times you have changed? Okay. So you need to change your PIN and you need to change it regularly. 3 months, 6 months. Yes. It will protect you. See here, you can change PIN regularly, very frequently. It's again the same thing. It comes down to the same thing. It consists just 4 numbers. PIN. You can use the same phrase. You can create strong passwords. So I told you Moneylife says no what's coming. But here what trick I am using is, how I got these numbers? Can anybody tell? This is the secret. This is the old Nokia mobile, which has got all the keys. So I am using this to create a PIN number. It's a base. So using that, Moneylife says no what's coming becomes 6592. I can use another phrase. Let's say I had given you the same phrase for the email password or password for the financial transactions. For ATM, you can choose any phrase that will be remembered only for you and not for the hackers. Now we come to the prepaid payment instrument, that's PPIs. Prepaid is nothing but an instrument like e-wallet or the prepaid card that is issued by the authorized agency permitted by RBI. Private players or issuers or some banks authorized by RBI can issue wallets. The PPI, this prepaid payment instrument that's issued by the banks, some of the banks, not all banks are authorized. Some of the banks can be used to withdraw cash as well, but the same is not applicable for private players. If you're using a e-wallet from a private player, let's say Paytm, so you cannot withdraw the cash using the wallet. So here are some of the prominent mobile wallets that's available. So main benefit of the using prepaid payment instrument is that there is no exposure to your personal details. I mean, you can't reveal your bank account number or any other details, and there is a value on the value is limited. Let's say if you are using a prepaid instrument only for 1,000 rupees for your Ola or Uber cab, then it's fine, you can use it. At the same time, there are certain drawbacks for these wallets or PPIs. There is no uniformity among these players. And everybody has a limited number of merchants. So if you are using Paytm and if you want to buy something from a merchant who doesn't use Paytm, then it will be difficult for you to make the payment. And the money that you are loaded on the wallet, it may remain locked, because you can't transfer that money in your bank account unless and until you are a fully KYC compliant customer, and there are certain conditions for that.
In Paytm and all, if the balance is less, our card details are stored in there. We just have to put the last 3 digits on the card, and then we have a password. But is it safe to have those details stored with all these wallets?
No, if you refer to what I told you earlier, don't store any financial details on your mobile or any app.
Not the mobile, the Paytm,
It's
in the app.
In the app. Don't store.
Okay.
It's not safe. Another thing that has come out with this digital transaction and digital economy part is the unified payment interface. That's the UPI. UPI, the important part that I liked about UPI is you don't need to, it is linked only with the bank account. Unlike the wallet or any other thing, you have to link your bank account with that, but there is no exposure to your bank details. Why? Because you have to use this virtual ID, virtual address, like username and the PSP name. PSP name can be anything like UPI or your bank, HDFC Bank or Axis Bank. And in UPI, the facility is that you can pay the money as well as you can call for the money. You can receive also and you can pay also. But again, it's risky. Yesterday only we had covered in news that there was some bug in Bank of Maharashtra's UPI application. Using that, some people had duped the bank about 25 crore rupees. They just siphoned off the money. It's a technical issue. So they are now probably fixed. What they had done is they just send the receive money request. And when the request goes to the UPI app, from a UPI app to NPCI and from NPCI to the bank, so the bug was there and they had hacked the bug according to their suitability. So whenever that message go, so the bank will check the account details and there are no sufficient fund. So the bank should alert the message that no sufficient fund. So instead of that, the bank sent the message success, and after some time it sent no sufficient fund. But when NPCI receives that message that it is success, they issued the money. The money was gone. So here also in UPI you need to have this MPIN and OTP. And one more thing that everybody, when this UPI kind of app was launched, especially Bhim, everybody was under the impression that you can use Bhim app at anywhere on any mobile. It is not possible. you need to have a smartphone to use an UPI app. At the same time, you need to have an internet connection. It cannot be used without an internet connection. If you want to do financial transaction using it without internet connection, then that's another thing that is called as USSD code, and you have to dial the *99#. That is a different code. Now, online shopping. Online shopping is convenient, but unless you take certain precautions and maintain very high level of security, it may cause you headaches and financial losses. This issues, Moneylife magazine's issue has a cover story that Sucheta ma'am has done about Amazon, what practices they apply while selling their wares, or how people can get duped when they get the fake item instead of the branded one which you had ordered. There are a lot of issues. So what you can do is shop only with the reputed sites. Not, I mean, there are some websites like Shop Clues kind of things. There are many other like that, but just think about using the reputed one like Amazon or Flipkart or Snapdeal, which are in the market for some time. Avoid impulse shopping. If you see something and it looks too good, don't buy it. Hold your impulse. What you can do is you can add that into your cart, or you can just add into your like or favorite kind of thing, depending upon the interface. Keep it there. Wait for 2-3 days. You'll get a better offer. Again, never share data over email on the online shopping unless and until it is required. Use cash on delivery feature because that helps you to avoid fraud cases. But nowadays it has become less, such kind of cases. Earlier people used to get marble slab instead of iPhone, but now it has stopped. Then preserve all your transaction records. Take the screenshots of your mobile and preserve it. Again, as I told you about online banking, use good antivirus and anti-spyware, anti-malware or spyware. Keep the application updated, or if you are using the mobile browser, then keep it updated and maintain the security. Now, what to do if you are duped in the online transactions? So this is, RBI has issued a draft circular in August 2016, but there are still no regulations in place. These regulations make it a zero liability if the fraud is not due to the customer's negligence and is reported to the bank within 3 working days. A customer who falls for fraud, phishing or entrapment call like fake lottery, escrow account, job schemes, insurance and income tax will have to bear the loss only until it is reported to the bank. So it is important that if something like this happens with you, you have to immediately report to the bank in writing. Not just the phone call or the call center. In writing, you have to inform to the bank. That will limit your further liability. If neither the bank or the customer is responsible for the fraud, but there is a 4 to 7 days delay in reporting. I mean, what happens when there is a delay? So your liability will be limited to the transaction value or ₹5,000, whichever is lower. And if you are reporting beyond that, then it is entirely your liability. So as I told you, immediately report the incident to the bank. Send email or letters to your branch manager. This is for the ATMs. If you inserted ATM and there is no money coming out from the ATM, so you have to report it to the concerned branch manager. If you are using other banks' ATM, then you have to report to your own branch manager as well as the other bank's manager. Also, you have to request them to preserve the video footage because all the ATMs are now having the CCTVs. So you have to ask them to preserve the video footage, and you have to move fast because after certain limit, let's say 10 days or 15 days, the video footage gets deleted automatically. If there is no response after sending reminders, then you can take up the matter till the banking ombudsman level, as ma'am has explained to you. There is another provision that you can go to the cyber crime court under the IT Act, and the state's information technology secretary is the adjudicating officer for this kind of cases. But he has a limit for ₹5 crore. So if your claim for damage is less than 5 crore rupees, and if you are not getting justice from anybody else, then you can approach the IT secretary as well. In Maharashtra, the IT secretary's office is just opposite at Mantralaya, 7th floor of the Mantralaya. As ma'am has told you, ask bank to lower limits on your cards. That will help you. Also check if your cards can be used only in the country and not overseas. So that will also limit your fraud risk. This is a must for everybody. For every transaction, you should get an SMS or email alert. So opt for that facility. Regularly check your account statements. Always be alert. It will save you and a lot of money for you. In short, never reveal mobile numbers, credit or debit card numbers and security codes or any other personal detail to anyone. The biggest part is make yourself foolproof by not revealing mobile numbers over phone calls from sweet voices. Even if the link appears familiar, visit the original website. Like I told you, you have to go to onlinesbi.com. That is the official website, and not just sbi.com or sbi.zz. It's not the authorized website. Do check the encryption level of the URL. There should be an extra S, especially for the financial transactions.
And the lock sign.
Yeah, lock sign has to be there. Chrome is now mentioning a word secure. So that is an additional advantage for you. If you are using Chrome, then you can see the word secure. It's in green color. You can see that it's an authorized website or it's a secured website. And don't share your mobile number or email ID on public platforms like we have the helplines. Don't share that. Digital technology is a huge boon, right? But the road for using it is full of pitfalls. And you need to learn to navigate through it. That is how you will survive in the digital economy and digital transactions. Thank you.